I have been thinking a lot recently about consumption, just like in general, and the many different ways that we interact with consumption. And when I say we, what I really mean is me. But I do find that whenever I talk about these topics, there's a lot of people who relate to it. So I just thought this is something that's been on my mind, and whenever I have something like this on my mind, I feel like I will be like in the shower, like talking to myself about a topic. Or like I'll be washing my face and I'm like talking through it. So I was just like, why don't I just like talk about it here? Because I know some people will be able to relate. Maybe it'll be helpful, or at least we can commiserate a little bit. The three biggest ways that I interact with, I don't know if that's the way that I want to say it, interface, I guess, with consumption is content. Is probably top. I feel like that's one that like a lot of us can probably connect on, especially since you're watching this on YouTube. Content. Shopping, okay? And food. Now, let's start with content. I was actually just finding myself like before sitting down to film this, because whenever I talk about these topics, sometimes I feel a little like, it feels a little bit more comfortable when I'm by myself and I'm in the shower and I'm talking my way through it, you know, because there's no pressure and I'm not worried about saying something wrong, or, you know what I mean? I don't know. When I sit down to film, or when I decide like, oh, I should film that as a video, there's instantly like a pressure to it, because I'm like, I'm going to say something wrong, I'm going to piss somebody off, or I'm going to offend somebody without meaning to. So to cope with that, and we'll get to that a little bit more. I found myself looking for like content on YouTube to listen to kind of like take my mind off of it. And I actually just watched, I think it was James Welch's recent video. I don't know when this is going to go up, but recent video about, it was about like crunchy moms and stuff. Very, very good video. Anyway, I personally find myself very drawn to listening to podcasts, listening to music, which I personally think is a little bit less of a, I find that to be less of like a problem, I guess. And we'll talk about like what the problem really is. But podcasts, commentary, you know, YouTube videos, even educational videos. Usually there's some kind of like humor involved. I enjoy laughing. Who the fuck doesn't? You know what I mean? So something that's going to be entertaining. But I find that I have this urge from the moment that I like wake up in the morning to put my AirPods in and find something to listen to. It's like, okay, who are the people I'm listening to right now? Did they upload something? I recently had an experience where I was trying to kind of like interface with music a little bit more. I love listening to music, but sometimes you just kind of, especially with like, you know, the apps, I listen to Spotify, you just kind of get tapped out. Maybe the new music just isn't hitting, or like the Discover playlists or whatever are just like not hitting. And I start to get sick of the music that I'm like already, like all my liked music. You can only listen to Orville Peck and Kylie Minogue so many times, you know what I mean? Love, but like so many times before I'm like, okay, I'm tapped out on this and I don't even want to listen to it anymore. I had a moment yesterday where I had a workout planned. I was doing a lower body workout, which is usually like one of my bigger workouts. And I decided to just do my workout without listening to anything for the first time in like what feels like, I don't know, 20 years. Like not that I've been working out that long, but I don't think I've ever worked out without listening to something, without listening to music, a podcast, or like if I'm not listening to a music or a podcast, it's because I'm following along with a workout, you know, like, yeah, I don't know, yoga or something like that. What was the most interesting about that experience was, number one, my workout went so much faster because I was not distracted, wasn't constantly holding my phone. I often find I'm someone who gets injured a lot. Like I'm very prone to injury. And so I have like a pretty extensive warm-up routine before I can start weight training. And I often find that like when I'm foam rolling, I'm just like, I'm bored, right? I'm listening to something, I'm already distracted, I'm foam rolling my leg or whatever, and then like I'll remember, oh, I need this thing, and then I'll go on Amazon and be like, oh, I need to buy this thing. And then I'm like so distracted, I'm not even paying attention to like foam rolling my, what's this thing called? IT band? Is that right? I'm not even paying attention to it. Like I'm not even there. So the act of silence, just silence, and working out was like, it was pretty incredible that I just wasn't wasting so much time. I wasn't wasting so much time. Plus, and I was a little bit worried because I was like, oh my God, like when I do hip thrusts, it's gonna be like, that's my heaviest workout. And I usually do it like right at the beginning, and I was just like, oh my God, this is gonna be like such a bitch to do, like without listening to some music. And I was really surprised at like how it wasn't really, it was actually really nice to feel like a little bit more connected. And again, because I was more connected to what I was doing in the moment, I was more present, I wasn't like putting it off. So my rests in between reps or sets weren't as long. And on top of all of this, because I do think that when it comes to consumption, like we have a very negative view of it. This wasn't me not listening to music while I worked out, was kind of just like I want to try this thing. I'm a little curious about this. Like I just want to try. It wasn't a like, oh my God, I'm always consuming and I need to stop, and like a shame spiral of like, I need to stop doing this thing and like torturing myself. You sharpening your nails or what? I wasn't trying to like deprive myself, you know what I mean? Which I have a serious problem with throughout my life. Historically, I have a problem with feeling like whatever I'm doing it wrong. I need to do it differently. And if I can't do it differently, I suck. You know what I mean? And I know a lot of you can relate to that because I've received comments from those of you who can relate to that. So consuming content, first of all, it isn't a negative thing. I make content. I hope people are consuming it. However, when you have this visceral need, when it feels like a compulsion, that feeling that I get when I like wake up first thing in the morning and I'm just kind of, it's almost like a drug where it's just like, I need this thing or else I'm not gonna be able to get through. I can't like be alone with my thoughts. Or the idea of silence is like, would drive me insane. That's obviously a problem. Because compulsive actions like that are not serving us in the way that it's not that they're not serving us, they are serving us. I think compulsive actions like that, speaking as someone who has OCD, they're providing some kind of a comfort so that we are able to get through, because chopping the veggies right now for the soup that I'm making in silence feels like I'm just going to be alone with my thoughts, and I'm just going to like deep dive into my thoughts, and it's going to be a problem. I'm not going to be able to go there. Like I'm not going to be able to emotionally handle that. So I need something to drown that out right now. The problem is that like, yes, it's serving you in that moment, but it's perpetuated into a habit, and then it happens constantly, and it is forever preventing you from accessing those emotions and feeling whatever you're feeling. And so you end up becoming further and further disconnected from your body. And it's horrible. It just gets worse and worse and worse. And those habits become stronger and stronger and stronger, and probably evolve, because like some of them don't serving you the same way that they once did. So they evolve into new things, or it becomes a shame spiral because you're like, I can't stop doing this thing. I suck. And there's all these like people on, speaking of content, all these people on social media who seem like they so have it together, which I know is like, people are like, I don't know, I feel like I kind of get sick of hearing that, but it is so true that like, that people are not sharing everything on the internet, and they're also creating these like ideals that just like perpetuate these extremely negative feelings that we have for ourselves, which is why, I mean, it's not exactly why, but which is one of the reasons why I do not use filters. And also, you know, I'm having a really shitty skin situation, and you can see all of it. I don't even have moisturizer on, I just realized, which is rude. However, I did do a little bit of an eyebrow stain for you just because I didn't want my hair to look so crazy with my eyebrows. So, just full disclosure. You're gonna drop it behind the couch, bro. So, consuming content, whether it's music, whether it's podcasts, it kind of like, it also helps to just make us feel like we're not alone. Like, what does it mean? Like, why do I feel like I need to be consuming this? Is it, I need to know this information because it's pertinent? Is it, I need to know this information or I'm gonna, like right now, or I'm gonna forget it? Is it, I don't want to be alone. Like, I don't want to feel alone right now. Is it that I don't want to be alone with my thoughts so that I don't have to access those feelings? Is it that nowadays life is just like so fast that I'm just so like overwhelmed with content that I'm like, well, if I don't consume it now, like I'll be behind when the next thing comes out. It's like, let's face it, that is also a thing. This is a string that she pulled off of my pillow. This was on my pillow. Okay? This is her favorite toy. It's ridiculous. So content. Content is the first one that I feel like is one of the most pertinent because we're just like all so exposed to it these days, whether it's short form, long form, whatever it may be. And I don't want to demonize it because I think it can be so great. Again, it's like my job. I do this. It's like incredible to be able to connect with people around the world. It's incredible to be able to just like look something up when you have a curiosity or you need to learn how to like replace a tire or something, you know? It has a lot more to do with how you are interacting with it than what it actually is, or the fact that it's abundantly available. You're very distracting. The next one, shopping. I mean, come on. Like, who doesn't have a shopping problem? When you think of consumption, I feel like shopping is probably the first thing that comes to a lot of people's minds. Again, because of content, because of influencers constantly like trying new things and trying to look for like the next best thing. In fact, one of the reasons that my skin is breaking out right now is because I just became very obsessed with skincare content. And I was reading about all of the different like exfoliants and, you know, I'm using tretinoin, but I want to make sure that I'm using the proper exfoliant for my skin type. And it got to the point where I was just over exfoliating. Like, I was just doing too much. I have a history of all or nothing. I ruined my skin, you know, like I was just like overwhelming it with exfoliation. It got to the point where my skin was like, you gotta stop. Like, you gotta stop. Not only was I over exfoliating, but I was also using extremely heavy moisturizers to combat the irritation and make sure. I got very obsessed with ceramides. I bought a lot of exfoliants. I bought a lot of different skincare products to try and like find the best ones, to find the most perfect ones. I need to find the perfect routine and I need to have the perfect products. This perfectionism is, I feel like, something that can lead to a lot of overconsumption because you're just looking for like the next best thing, right? Which I'm so guilty of. And I'm guilty of that in makeup. And I know that a lot of people are, where it's like, I have 7 bronzers, but is that one better? Like, is the color gonna be better? Is the finish gonna be better? And on the one hand, this kind of consumption, you know, shopping is not like horrible. It grows the economy. Benefits everybody. Shopping is good, okay? Like, it is. Like, it keeps our economy moving. It's a good thing. If it's something that you need, or even if it's something that you want, but you're not doing it too much, because we have to consider the effect that it has on our mental state and the effect that our mental state has on it. You know what I mean? So, for me, one of my biggest problems when it comes to over shopping, I've distinguished is, again, comfort seeking. It's very much, if something happens, I have that thing. So one thing that I've noticed about myself when I'm shopping for skincare is I'll try a new like cleanser and then I'll be like, oh, this is the new cleanser. Like, this is my new cleanser. And then I will bulk purchase that product so that I have enough of it. But then that like perfectionism thing pops up a little bit later, maybe a month or so later, where I'm like, oh wait, what about that cleanser? Now I have like 3 of these cleansers bulk bought. But now I'm like, oh, I'm interested in that cleanser because maybe that's the cleanser. Maybe that's like the perfect cleanser. This bitch just thinks that like if I'm talking, it's playtime. What are you doing? What are you doing? Where's your string? Silly little bitch. I have also found this, like a kind of a similar relationship that I have to clothing. So with clothing, I will often over purchase basics because it's very much that like, okay, if I need this, I have it. Or I've also noticed that like this started happening during the pandemic where it was the pandemic. Things were shut down. We weren't having like social media beauty events. It wasn't happening, okay? But I used it as an opportunity to shop and be like, okay, when things go back to normal and we start going to events, I have this outfit. Outfits that I never wore. Shoes that took me, the first thing I bought were a pair of these like Doc Martens, which to be honest with you, fucking love. And I'm actually gonna be wearing them to the Lady Gaga concert next month, which I'm taking myself to, by the way. I'm not going with a brand. I just want everybody to know that. I went to Beyonce by myself. I'll go to Lady Gaga by myself. Anyway, do love them. They were the first thing that I bought, these like platform Doc Martens, which in the long run, I do love them. I have worn them like a couple times. You know what I mean? Like I've worn these shoes a couple times. Did I need them? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Maybe they're a bad example because, you know, this thing pops up and now I'm like, oh, I have it. But like, that's my mentality. That's what ends up reinforcing that thing is like, oh, I bought this thing that I'm only going to use 3 times, but I have it for when I need it. I also have this problem with food. So I will over purchase groceries because I'm not necessarily like weekly planning meals, but I'm thinking like, well, if I want to have bell peppers, then like I've got my bell peppers. But so often those bell peppers end up going bad because I have too much food. I noticed recently that feeling when my fridge is full and like organized, how good it feels for about 0.3 seconds. I have like 0.3 seconds of feeling like, yeah, like, fuck yeah. And then it goes away. It totally goes away. So I have a fridge full of food. It looks nice. That feeling's gone. And I have a bunch of like, today I have a grapefruit that was all moldy. I was like, shit, I never got to eat my grapefruit. You know? It's ridiculous. But all of that like overconsumption of shopping is an attempt to create a comfort, to create this comfort that like I'm prepared. And if I need this thing, I have this thing. The final one that I want to talk about is food, because it is something that I've had a huge problem with. And Jesus, why does this happen? Like, you know what the problem is? I never talk. I'm quiet. I work from home. I'm pretty silent. And then when I film, I'm doing a lot of talking and my voice is like, what are you doing? I need to do like vocal warm-ups for filming. I just wanted to quickly say that like, if you are sensitive to this topic, maybe skip the rest of this video, or if it's not the full rest of this video, I'll put a timestamp to like skip to, because I am going to be talking a little bit about like my relationship with food, and I don't think that I've gone like super in depth. I've definitely said some things in some other videos, but yeah, I want to talk about it a little bit. Because otherwise you're just not really going to get the sense for it. So yeah, just a warning. So I have mentioned in a couple of videos that I have a history of binging and restricting. And this started, I think the restricting probably started in like middle school. The binging started way earlier than that. So food was like, snacks were definitely my way of like learning how to emotionally regulate. Could use a fucking snack right now. Yeah, I don't want to get into like super details, big details, but when I was a kid, I didn't know how to emotionally regulate, and safety for me was very much food. Smart food popcorn in particular was a very safe food for me. Comforting food, I guess. My safety was always like solitude, smart food popcorn. Comfort, okay? That's like where I felt safe. It's very difficult to film this video with this little bitch over here. I feel like it's probably really hard for people to even focus on what I'm saying. You're just having a good old time. Can you play with this somewhere else maybe? Or are you just gonna stay on the couch? Yeah, so I pretty much like my entire life felt like I didn't have a healthy relationship with food. And I actually filmed a couple videos about quitting sugar. Because sugar is another one. Chocolate, sugar, that's another one. I feel like the smart food, like the snacks, that kind of snack, sort of like, that was very young, when I was like a very young kid. And I always loved candy, you know, because like what kid doesn't? I also use chocolate and sweets in that way, but I don't know. I guess I've been focusing more on smart food in therapy, so that's why it's at the top of my mind. But also sugar. And then I started going down, you know, like consuming content. People are on keto, all that bullshit. And I was like, I'm gonna start phasing out refined sugar because refined sugar is gonna kill me. It's so bad for me. And I went down that rabbit hole, and I filmed some videos about like how I quit sugar. And then I filmed a follow-up video that was like, my dark circles are coming back because I'm eating sugar again. And it's so interesting to go back and watch those videos, because I remember receiving some comments that I was so blown away. They blew my mind, because I was just like, wait, you don't see this the way that I see this? I was in a completely different place. People kind of criticizing my take, I guess, on sugar, which to me at the time was like, wait, what, really? Like, I was so confused. Now I very much understand it. I understand it. The biggest thing to keep in mind, I think, is that depending on your lens, the lens with which you view the world and your experiences, you are going to be hearing things very differently than someone else who has a different experience than you. So someone who has a very like healthy relationship with food, maybe they feel like, oh, you know, yeah, I've been like kind of overeating sweets and I'm feeling a little sluggish, and you know, my wedding is coming up in 6 months, so I kind of want to like reduce the junk food a little bit. They have a much easier time interacting with that kind of like goal setting without spiraling into shame than someone who is like thinking, oh my God, I eat so much sugar, I eat so much candy. Why can't I? Why do I feel like I can't stop eating candy? Why do I feel like I can't stop eating this food that I really love? Why do I have no willpower? I must have no willpower, because like all I want to do is lose weight, or all I want to do is clear up my skin, or all I want to do is just like eat more veggies, but I can't force myself to eat more veggies. I just want to eat junk food. And that just ends up like spiraling into like this, like it creates this shame spiral where you're just like, it makes it so much worse because you're bringing up all of these emotions of like shame and feeling like shit. And then you want to like do something with those emotions, which leads to you using food as comfort. At least this is like, has been very much my relationship with it. I've gone through periods of like, of being super strict and cutting things out completely and losing a bunch of weight, and then, you know, obviously like it results in binge eating. It's that all or nothing mentality that is affects my life in so many different ways, like that I've learned affects my life so heavily. Consuming these foods is providing me with something. It is providing me with like a little bit of comfort in situations where, now that I've been able to like work on this shit for so long, I've recognized like when I'm feeling overstimulated, when I'm feeling depressed, when I'm feeling anxious, my go-to is very much like, everybody leave me the fuck alone. Everybody leave me alone, I need to be alone. And I want to snack. I want to snack on something that tastes good. But that snacking is not typically associated with like enjoyment. It isn't this like, oh, I'm going to pour myself this bowl of smart food popcorn, which is this like savory, you know, crunchy treat, and enjoy it. It's very much a disconnected, anxious, like disassociated experience where I'm just eating until I feel like I'm gonna puke, and there's nothing good about that. Didn't even like taste the food, basically. You know what I mean? I've learned recently in therapy that the objective of working on my relationship with these foods, which by the way, I just want to say I've made so much fucking progress, like you have no idea. You have no, I mean, here's the thing. I feel like work has not been like a huge priority for me. I have not been working very much. I have not been uploading as much. 85 to 90% of myself is being put into therapy, and it's been like game changing. It's been life changing. I said this in like my last couple of videos. So much progress has been made. It's like unbelievable. And you have no fucking idea how thankful I am that I work from home, that I'm self-employed, that I'm my own boss, and I have the opportunity to be able to do this. And I have insurance that pays for it. Well, most of it. I just can't imagine like if you are a person who is, you know, a mother of 3 and you're dealing with OCD symptoms or depression, anxiety, and you literally don't have the time. You have to be in survival mode. So I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you to all of the people who like watch my YouTube, who have supported me over the years, because like I literally would not have this opportunity to be able to do this work on myself if it weren't for you. Like I just wouldn't. And it's fucking insane. And I feel like so sad and a little bit guilty, and I'm trying not to like, you know, shame spiral, that I have this opportunity, and I'm just thankful for it. I'm just thankful. That was a tangent, and now I don't remember what I was saying, but what are you doing, little bun? One thing I do want to say, because as someone who consumes a lot of podcasts, it's so easy to like watch and listen to all of these like podcasts where people are talking about this stuff, and they're talking about like having a healthy relationship with food, or they're talking about health things, and if you're not in the same like mental space as them, it's impossible to actually like picture it. I've had some appointments recently with my therapist where I've like reflected on the feelings. Anyone who experiences like binge eating, maybe you have, and you have been working on it. Maybe you've heard of the scarcity complex, where it's like, oh, I'm preventing myself from having this thing, which creates a scarcity complex. It makes me think like, oh my God, I can't have this thing. So it ends up like ruminating in my thoughts constantly, and it makes me want it more and more, and that's what leads to binge eating, and then restricting, and then the cycle continues. I recently had a little bit of a reflection with my therapist where she was like, why do you think that you were able to like have a little bit and then stop? And I was like, I guess it was because like I know I can have this food anytime I want, and like I had a shitty day, I was feeling a little bit down, I wanted to enjoy this treat, and then I did, and then I was satisfied. And before I started working on this stuff, like that concept of like me being able to get to that place, it was like so fucking foreign. Like there was no chance. Like I was like, there's literally no way. And I started laughing when I was talking to her, because I was like, I just remember how I felt like there's literally no way I'm ever gonna get to that. Like it's, so your mentality of where you are in the moment is so important. I listened to so many podcasts. Even the person who I've recommended in multiple videos, Rachel Wrigley, who has talked very much about her relationship with binge eating and how now she like works with women to help, you know, I was gonna say fix, and I don't want to use language like that. Heal, I guess, their relationship with food. I listened to a bunch of her videos, and they were definitely like the first thing to kind of like flick a switch and be like, oh, maybe I could get there. But even still, I wasn't able to like listen to her videos and be like, yes, I can picture myself in that place. It was just a little bit of like this curiosity, like maybe there's a possibility I could get there. You can listen to all the podcasts in the entire world. You can read all the self-help books. I mean, I think there are really good books actually, but until you face your fears, until you have to go through the shittiest feelings to make progress. I went through the shittiest feelings and I've made so much progress. Like, I remember when I was young, I used to be really proud of the fact that I would never cry. Well, guess the fuck what? I have made up for that probably 10 times over. Like, I have cried so fucking much. I've had a lot of panic attacks. But you have to experience that. You have to experience, with food especially, you have to experience binging. You have to experience failure to prevent yourself from binging. You have to experience this like release of control so that you are able to actually find freedom. Because I remember saying to my therapist, like, she was just kind of asking me like, what's the goal basically? And I was saying, because of where I was at the time, I want to feel like I have control around food because there are certain foods that I don't have control over. And she reframed that and said, it sounds like what you really want is to feel freedom around food. And I was like, oh, fuck, yeah, that's what I want. Yeah, no, you're right. That's what I want. So relinquishing that control is so difficult, so uncomfortable. It hurts so fucking much, but it is literally the only way that you can get to that place. Now, again, I am speaking to people who have this problem of control because I think that it relates very much to overconsumption, at least for me. And maybe you have a different experience, and if you do and you'd like to share, I would love to hear it. For me, like I said, with skincare, with clothing, with food, shopping is very much about like, I'm set, I'm ready, I have that thing. Content, maybe it's information. Maybe it's like, oh, I was exposed to this thing, or I got to hear this joke before missing out on it, or it's just, wait, what the fuck was I just talking about? I've said a lot of stuff. Oh, control. I think consuming content like podcasts, like I said, it's a form of control. It's also a distraction. It's a distraction from whatever those like internal feelings might be, whatever those racing thoughts might be. So it's a control over that. It's like I am controlling my emotions by like distracting myself with this thing, which is like, if you know, you know, only perpetuates that anxiety. Being alone with your thoughts, practicing things like mindfulness, being in quiet, fucking reading a book, like, I don't know, sitting down and drawing a doodle or something. Like, those things are so important, and they're so hard for some reason, for a lot of people, and we know why, but like I was gonna say, for some reason, in this day and age, like, they're so difficult. The one thing that I want you to take away from this is, if you are in a place where you relate to what I'm talking about, and you don't feel like you have any control over that, and you feel like you've tried and failed, just give yourself a little bit of grace. Because you're not alone. Like, so, like, the amount of years that I've lived where I have partaken in this, and it's just like gotten worse and worse. You're not alone. You're not alone. And for me, the biggest thing that made like such an impact was letting go of that control and that constant like self-hate and shame. That was the biggest thing. That's kind of all I really wanted to talk about. I just like, I don't know, consumption in general has been on my mind, and it just takes so many different forms. And I kind of just wanted to talk to you about like where, I don't know, just like what, like some of the things that I think have been so valuable in my experience with therapy are getting a different perspective from someone who's trained, who can kind of like open up your eyes to, because like you're very much seeing the world through your lens. Duh, like who the fuck else's lens would you see it through? But something that's really important to keep in mind is that it's colored by your experiences and your things that you've been exposed to. And our minds aren't that reliable. Like, they're really not. They're actually like very not reliable. If you have ever, like, speaking of content, consumed anything or read anything about memory and how like unreliable it is, it's pretty fascinating. We're really not truth-seeking creatures. We're very much comfort-seeking creatures. And so it's really not your fault that you seek comforts, because it's like a huge part of survival. And just because we're not like in the, you know, woods anymore, like hunting and fishing, which, by the way, sorry, my boyfriend and I are watching Alone. And the first season we watched was season 6, Jordan Forever, but we're trying to watch like the other really good seasons. The show's fucking crazy. Anyway, very thankful to be in a nice warm apartment. Just saying. I could never. I would last maybe 30 minutes. My therapist shared with me like a little article, maybe I'll link it, just about basically like interacting with the world and things, whether it's an experience, whether it's a person, whether it's a food, I don't know, as if you are a child, as if it's the first time, to kind of filter out those preconceived notions. You don't even necessarily have to do it in the moment. You could just kind of like do it as a thought experiment. Like, what's something that I hate? I'm terrified of the ocean. So I'm trying to think, like, how would I experience, like, what would my experience be swimming in the ocean if I were a child, or if I were experiencing it for the first time? It'd probably be really fucking fun. And I know this because I used to do it when I was a kid, and I, over time, developed this fear of the ocean. That's like a weird, stupid example, but you can do that with pretty much anything. Like, I also hate oysters. My boyfriend's made me eat like 5 oysters. It's so annoying. One of them was really good. I mean, the seasoning was good. That's all it is. An oyster is just seasoning. I don't understand people who love oysters. It's like just like eat the freaking salt and the like whatever sauce. You don't need the oyster. Whatever. Anyway, actually, you know what? As a kid, I feel like if you experienced an oyster for the first time, you would be like, ew, no. So that's probably a really bad example. What's another good example? Hi. Oh, coconut. I hate coconut. I really don't like coconut. But if I was experiencing a coconut for the first time, like opening an actual coconut and drinking coconut milk, like what a fun experience that would be. Like to have this thing that looks like this giant like fuzzy seed and cut it open and there's like a milk inside. I don't know. It brought me back to being in camp and actually doing that, and I remember being like, oh, this is really cool, and like drinking it out of the coconut and thinking like, this is really cool. But eventually I got to the point where I fucking hate coconut. These are weird examples. Anyway, takeaways. Be easy on yourself. Just notice when you're having shameful thoughts, when you're feeling shame, when you're feeling negative towards yourself. Allow yourself a little bit of grace. Try to relinquish some of that control. Because that's really the only way that you end up getting to any sense of freedom, I think, in your life, if you are a control freak like me. And don't demonize consumption, because it has such a negative view, but it's really about the way that you interact with it. It's like this thing, like this dichotomy that we kind of like end up creating as humans, where like it's like good and evil, like heaven and hell type situation, where like things are either good or they're bad, and it's just like not the case. Like it's just not the case that things are so black and white. So have a little bit more like nuance when you're interacting with these things. And just maybe do a little bit of a thought experiment and think like, how would I interact with this thing that I'm terrified of or that I don't like if I were experiencing it through the eyes of a child or for the first time. I think through the eyes of a child is probably the best way to do it, because it can be a little bit more difficult to like think, oh, I'm experiencing this for the first time. I feel like that's a little bit harder to kind of like get rid of your preconceived notions. But if you're thinking like, I'm a child, because it's like, we've all seen children experience something for the first time. Like they're just like walking around like drunk people, you know what I mean? Like saying hi to like all these randoms on the like train, you know, all these like random grumpy people, and they're like, hi, like they're just chilling, right? We gotta get back to that a little bit. I don't know if this had a through line. But I hope that it was helpful for people, because all this shit's been on my mind and I just wanted to talk about it. And yeah, I don't know, I guess I need to play with this cat because she is just like, you're bored, huh? Are you bored? Where's your ribbon? She's very much a hunter. She only likes to play. You're so silly. You're so silly. And you never get to see Ziva. You never get to see her because she hates being picked up. But here she is. My shoulder's cracking. All right, I gotta stop. All right, thanks for watching, subscribe, and whatever. And I don't know, just whatever. Just whatever, you know? All right, bye.